Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the No Coaster podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we will be talking about UFC 308. Alright, guys, so welcome back. I know we missed on last episode's pay-per-view event. We did not cover UFC 307. I apologize for that, but we're here for UFC 308. And honestly, this card is going to be a banger. All right, so already off the top two fights, the main, co-main alone are making this card at either a 9 or 8 out of 10. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Super excited for that Ilya and Max fight. I mean, a lot of people talking about that being the fight of the year. I'm on that same boat right there, honestly. Max Holloway is my favorite fighter, so might be a little biased towards him in that fight, even though it will be a tough fight for him. I'm looking forward to it. So we're gonna start from the beginning of the main card, and then we'll work our way up from there. So the first match that we have going on is Shara Bullet Magomedov versus Armin Petrosyan. Not sure if I'm saying that correctly. These guys are two strikers, all right? So definitely gonna kick off the card with a banger. We all know Shara Bullet is a showman. I mean, this guy throws wild things. He is a wild boy, honestly. This guy is throwing spinning attacks, super unorthodox strikes like Superman punches, kicking out the cage like he's Anthony Pettis, X kicks. He even has that X kick finish, which is something straight out of a movie. Flying knees, all sorts of kicks from all different directions. It's almost like he uses his kicks as a jab to keep his distance away from his opponents. So very interesting. I feel that takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of energy. Maybe you're not being the most economical fighter, but we haven't seen this guy in a lot of fights, especially 5-round fights, to see how that pans out there. So other than that, he's got good footwork, good lateral movement. He's a finisher. This guy has a lot of finishes outside of the UFC. I know this guy was a finisher machine as soon as he came into the UFC. Obviously, the competition is going to go up in level, and so he hasn't really finished anybody, minus Tricoli or something like that. Tricoli, there you go. Tricoli exposed the weak game of Shara by, putting him against the fence and getting on and trying to control him and almost, doing really well in the fight until he gasses out. Tricoli was a last minute fight, and this guy had to go all the way to the opposite side of the world to fight Shara Bullet. So, he didn't have a long camp or anything like that, long flight. And of course, Shara took advantage of that in the third round. It was like he was fighting just a boxing bag out there. Just a target, really. And so, yeah, Shara was able to put him away, which was good. So, still questionable gas tank. We really haven't seen it. He does do a good job of going in and out of range quickly. He did beat Silva up from being on his back, which is something that not everybody can do. So that's pretty good right there. And some weaknesses for Shara are he hasn't fought contenders yet. He's proving himself. The UFC seems like they really want to push this guy. They keep giving him strikers. He has yet to fight a grappler, and that leads me to his weakness. He is not a grappler. He has no takedown defense, and he tends to grab the cage, which I'm surprised A lot of reps haven't gotten on him for this. Honestly, he should have gotten deducted a point in that last fight where he grabbed the cage and prevented himself from falling on the ground. So yeah, that's hopefully something he fixes. On the other side of that, we have Arman, and Arman, good lateral movement. He's a good striker. He's got good volume. Again, strikers type of fight here. We're not gonna see anybody go to the ground unless maybe someone's in trouble because they got hit by a good hit and now they're just trying to survive. So with Arman, he's been known to get up quickly from being taken down. Again, I don't think that's gonna be relevant here. He's won against good guys like Leroy Duncan, which was a huge prospect, RoboCop, and he does have a questionable fight against Boharo. You know, some people say that he won that fight, which Barajo is a good guy, so a good fighter at least, and so proved himself there. I think Arman's a really underrated fighter. I think if he gets a win here, maybe some people start paying attention, but I don't know. I mean, Arman, more battle tested, and he might be able to crowd this kicker. You know, if this guy, all he does is kick, and Arman can close that gap in between them, doesn't allow this Sharabullet to do his crazy spinning kicks or even generate power at that point, being so close, maybe he takes a big part of Sharabullet's game out of the picture that can possibly lead him into a win. So this one was tough. You know, I'm excited to see this one, especially since it's the first card in the main event. Man, Shara, he needs to lure him into his range. He needs to circle him into his weaker side. But I don't know. I think Shara gets it done, especially since he'll be at home. I know that there's a lot of talk out there that, oh, Abu Dhabi, they're gonna go with their fighters, but you know, the judges aren't from Abu Dhabi. The judges travel all the way over there to that promotion, so it's not like it's a rigged type of situation, especially with the organization of UFC. They're pretty good about this stuff, so I kind of want to put that, be away with that excuse of every Dagestani or fighter on that side of the world is going to be favored. So I think this is up for grabs, but I'm gonna continue following the hype train of Sharabullet. I think he has good potential of being a star for sure. He's already a movie star. Hopefully he can be a UFC star one day. I think he's a very exciting fighter and can be really good for the UFC, but he needs to really put it on the line here, and he's gonna get tested for the first time by someone who's pretty good. Not super top contender, but I think this fight maybe is the fight that springboards Shara into a contender fight, puts him in a ranking position. Hopefully Shara can finally start fighting in Vegas and in the United States. I'm hearing that's getting closer, so give me Sharabullet. Give me him winning by a decision. KO possibly, but give me that decision for Sharabullet. And we move on. Alright, so our next fight, we have two light heavyweight fighters. We have Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. So both of these guys are really good. Let's talk about Ankalaev first. Ankalaev is a Greco-Roman champ. He's got a Samo champ background, MMA champion as well, internationally. This guy's got quite the resume. A lot of people say that he should have gold around his waist. He just fell short. He fell short against John Blachowicz, and I think that was a draw. So he had the opportunity there to become a champion, but he's just falling short when it comes to the fights that really do matter. He's not too much of a submission artist, although he is really good at taking people down and controlling them, and then getting advantage of that and getting ground and pounded on his opponents. He likes to switch stances as well, and he can hurt people from both sides. He is a solid, calculated counter striker, so that's something to pay attention to. He's not really going to lead the dance, but he's going to wait for his opponent to strike. He's going to counter, and that's usually the way he goes about things. So he had a super boring fight against Santos. I'm not too sure what happened there. He is a points fighter. Some weaknesses for Ankalaev are the ability to defend against low kicks. John Blachowicz exposed that. And guess what? We're about to talk about it right now. Rakic is a crazy kicker. Should have seen what he did against Anthony Smith. Literally broke his ankle or lower leg bone just with kicks alone. So if Ankalaev does not fix the low kick checking or the defense against those low kicks, he's gonna have issues with Rakic. So I'm hoping that Ankalaev worked on that during his camp. But notice that he's been more conservative recently, hasn't really been utilizing his grappling as much, and so I hope he puts that back into his regimen here, because I think Ankalaev can probably stand with Rakic, but the game plan here, the best strategic plan here, I think, is that Ankalaev takes Rakic down, gets that control time, gets Rakic a little tired, takes the fight to Rakic, because Yuri did that to Rakic in their last fight. Rakic was beating Yuri in that whole first round. He was doing amazing. He was fighting the perfect fight, and then Yuri made it ugly, and Rakic took the bait, and it costed him greatly. He ended up losing that fight. But again, back to Rakic. He is an Austrian kickboxer. He likes to switch stances when he's kicking. He has a chin. He took some nasty shots from Clark, but ended up finishing the fight with the back fist. He's got powerful low kicks, as I said. He's got a pretty good combination. He has a huge frame for light heavyweight, big guys, but this guy looks like he's got strength, like he's going to be able to take advantage of his big frame. He can also grapple. He gets a little sloppy when in firefights, as I discussed with that Yuri fight, and his cardio can be questionable. So if Ankalaev can get this guy tired with that top control game, maybe that's the way that he gets the win here. He did get injured. Rakic did against John. It was a knee injury. I'm wondering if that's still a factor. Is that going to slow Rakic down? He didn't look so against Yuri. He just made a mistake in that fight, I believe. Rakic's manager or coach is already saying that he's the guy that's going to be knocking out Pereira. I think the winner of this fight right here can potentially face Pereira in a championship fight in the near future. So, I think this has the potential of being a top contender fight right here. Ankalaev can get that second opportunity for gold. Man, I think I'm gonna have to go with Ankalaev, especially if he sticks to this game plan. If he can, definitely defend those low kicks, I think Ankalaev takes this one. And probably a decision. All right, we move on. All right, so we got the third bout of the night. We have Leon Murphy versus Dan Ige. 50 G's Dan Ige. Man, Dan Ige has been loved as of recently. I don't know if you guys have heard or did watch that pay-per-view event that happened recently, but Diego Lopez was supposed to fight Brian Ortega. That didn't happen, and the unthinkable happened. A 4-hour notice for Dan Ige to step in and fight Diego Lopez, which is unheard of. This guy was sitting in the couch. 4 hours later, he's fighting in the biggest promotion in the world against one of the biggest prospects in the world as well. And honestly kept up with that fight. He held his ground. He ended that fight on top. Who knows what a 5-round fight between those guys would look like, but Dan Ige earns my respect for that, honestly. And the UFC community, MMA community in general, respects Dan Ige for saving the day on that one. So props to him on that. A little bit about his strengths are that he does carry power inside the pocket, so if he can close that distance down, he can definitely get some power shots. We've seen him knock people out left and right. He sits down with his punches, and he's durable as well. He can get cracked. He got cracked by Emmett. He survived it, so he can take a hit. He is he does have good cardio, and he's always moving around, which is good. You're not a standing target. It's harder for you to be hit, which is a very good thing for a fighter. Don't get hit, and you do the hitting. It should be the way to go, right? So I would say Dan Ige may be the more technical striker here, and has fought the who's who. He's fought high level competition. If we look at his resume, he has fought, let's see here, Diego Lopez, Andre Fili, Bryce Mitchell, Masvar Evlov, Josh Emmett, Korean Zombie, Gavin Tucker, or Calvin Cater, Edson Barbosa. Yeah, this guy's fought the who's who in that division. He does like to dip his head down when he's throwing punches. That may leave him a little open, so he needs to be careful about that. He does have a 59 takedown defense rate, which is not the best, but look who against he's defending takedowns. Again, you got Evlov, Bryce Mitchell. You have all these guys that are really good on the ground. So he is a smaller fighter. Leon Murphy is the bigger fighter. This guy is undefeated. I feel like has been flying low on the radar of many people in the MMA community. Not a lot of people really heard of him. I know I didn't, and he had a really good fight against Edson Barbosa in his last fight, and I think that's what really made him kind of spring up and become more of a name. I think with a win over Dan Ige, Leon Murphy is setting himself up for potential top contender or future championship fight. With his undefeated streak, I wouldn't see why not. A little bit about his strengths are that he likes to switch stances when striking. He recently started using feints, which, it's part of the new game, right? People are using feints now, and keeps the opponent guessing, and, it's very good to utilize in your striking. You're not so predictable as well, which helps. He's got an excellent jab. He is a long-range fighter, so he covers a lot of distance in order to get his shots off. He has powerful leg kicks. He has a great win against Barbosa. Like I said, he dominated that fight. He does have a questionable win against Gabriel Santos. Very explosive fighter when he's striking. He's very explosive when he's shooting for a takedown. He has a positive striking differential, so you don't really see that too often in the UFC. And I say he's a high IQ fighter as well. He will adjust to how the fight is going in order to get that win. He has a harder time with tougher guys. We know Dan Ige is a tough guy. And Leon Murphy does get taken down a lot, but he does pop up pretty quickly. I don't see Dan Ige really going for a takedown. I think Dan Ige wants to keep it on the ground. I think Leon Murphy might be the one who goes more for takedown. So I think Leon Murphy can try to go in there, take Dan Ige down, control Dan Ige on the ground. But you know, I know Leon is the undefeated fighter. I just have way too much respect for Dan Ige right now. Diego Lopez is a good fighter, and Dan Ige almost beat him in 4 hours notice. He lost that fight, but ended that fight on top, ground and pound. And I would have loved to see if that fight was 5 rounds. Maybe Dan Ige would have gassed out, but I'm just very impressed with that fight. So I think Dan Ige still got some juice left. And if he gets an impressive fight here, you know, I know Dana White's he has to owe him some favors. So Dan Ige's just gotta, you know, get his wins, and he can make his way to the top really quickly. Maybe get a championship fight in the future. Who knows? So yeah, that's my pick, Dan Ige. You know what? Give me him winning with a TKO KO win. Why not? I've been saying nothing but decision wins. I know there's gotta be some knockouts, especially. I know a lot of people are talking mess about these gloves, about them now people not being able to knock people out because there's new gloves. You know, I think we'll see. We still have to see how we need more data, I would say. So hopefully we do get to see some knockouts, and I think Dan Ige is the guy to do that. So let's move on to our co-main event. We have Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whitaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. I think he's named the Wolf. Finally, Khamzat is going to fight. I think he's going to fight. I know there's a lot of speculation that he might not even fight because it's happened in the past where he gets sick and has to pull out or switch opponents, and it's been a little chaotic as of recently, which is very interesting because Khamzat started his career around, I think, COVID time, and he fought like back-to-back weekends, got crazy finishes in those weekends, and literally blew up on social media. And he just hasn't been as active at all as of recently. So, you know, it's not his fault. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't think they've disclosed really all the information, but he tends to get sick a lot, and I don't know. I don't like to see that. I think that's something to pay attention to. You know, does that affect him in his fights? Who knows? We're gonna have to see, especially in this one. So let's talk about Khamzat first. We'll go there, and then we'll go into Bobby Knuckles. So Khamzat is a very good top control fighter. He can dominate his opponents. We've seen him ragdoll people. He's super strong of a fighter. He'll take people and put them in his own corner so his coaches can just coach him during the fight. He's even gotten, I think it was the Leech, picked him up, threw him down right in front of Dana White and started talking to Dana White and beating him up. Never seen anything like that. It was just almost bullyish, and it's just crazy. I couldn't believe that this grown man was doing this to another grown man, and it was a spectacle to watch for sure. So we've seen Khamzat shoot right away. He likes to shoot in that first round. He likes to get control, and he does start to slow down after that first round. So, you know, we can see Khamzat trying to go for a win early on, and if he doesn't get a win early on, things will start to get a little harder for him. It'll be harder for him to, you know, be on the winning side if this does go to the decision, in my opinion. So he's a good striker. He throws a lot of straight punches. He's got a really great jab, really good uppercuts. He's taken some nasty shots, especially from that Gilbert Burns fight. He got battle tested there for sure. Got battle tested by Kamaru Usman, but that was a questionable fight. A lot of people said Kamaru Usman, if there was 2 more rounds, he was already turning that fight around. It was clear Kamaru had no training camp, and he moved up to a 185 when he's really a 170 pounder, and he looked that good against Khamzat. That was a little worrisome. I think that made Khamzat look more of a human. So yeah, I think Khamzat's got a really good takedown defense. I don't think he needs to worry about Robert Whittaker taking him down. So we're just gonna have to see if Khamzat can last 5 rounds, because on the other side of that, we have Robert Whittaker, which is the 5-round experienced fighter here. This guy has fought in so many fights that have gone the distance and was able to get the winning side in those fights. So he loves to fight in strike and blitz, right? He is a lot of volume in his game. He's an amazing striker. He's got good wrestling in his back pocket. He's got really good takedown defense. It's at 82% takedown defense. And he fought against Romero, which again is somebody who is very, very strong. He's gonna impose his will on his opponents, and Robert Whittaker was able to hold off Romero for 2 fights, 10 rounds. Why wouldn't he be able to hold off a Khamzat with, you know, the same strength level maybe? So Robert Whittaker has been shining a lot lately. I do want to look at his record here. He has impressive wins. The only time he can't win is if somebody has a belt around their waist, so an Izzy or a Dricus du Plessis. But man, let's look at his resume. So he's beaten Ikram Aliskerov in the 1st round. He had that impressive win against Pablo Costa, destroyed Vittori, nice fight against Gastelum. A lot of people said he beat Izzy in the rematch. I don't know if I'd say the same, but it was definitely a close fight. Robert Whittaker needs to survive the 1st round and just dominate in the later rounds. And I think this is the first true middleweight that Chimaev is going to face. You know, somebody who's actually a contender, someone who has the experience, someone who is, you know, at the top level at that weight class. He's only fought guys at welterweight, really. And when he has faced the middleweights, Kamaru Usman moves up in weight. So I think this is going to be a real test for Khamzat. If Khamzat can get through Whittaker, then Khamzat is going to fight for the belt. You know, I can see him fighting the winner of Strickland and Dricus, and or even like Izzy versus Chimaev. I think Chimaev might overpower Izzy, take him down. So I'm not really looking forward to that fight. But Khamzat has a chance, especially with the stardom, to fight for a belt, to become a champion, to be a star, even more so than he already is. But I'm gonna go with Bobby Knuckles here, just for the simple fact that this is a 5-round fight, and I think Khamzat gets tired. I think Robert Whittaker has good takedown defense and good cardio, which are going to be huge factors if Khamzat gets tired early on. So give me Bobby Knuckles winning in the decision, and you know, him getting another chance at the belt. So it'd be cool to see that for sure. All right, let's move on to the main event. So we have Ilia Topuria, El Matador, which is the current champion for the featherweight division, against Max Holloway, Blessed Expressed Holloway. Again, Max Holloway is my favorite fighter. I feel super biased, especially him coming off of that crazy win against Justin Gaethje. We'll never forget that fight. He points down to the ground and ends up finishing Gaethje, even though he didn't even need to do that. He was already winning that fight. He gave Gaethje that opportunity to still finish the fight, but that didn't turn out well for Gaethje. Max Holloway walked off. He turned Super Saiyan after that, and I couldn't get more hyped. I know I was jumping around and super excited with my friends watching it at home, and I couldn't believe it. Definitely the highlight for that UFC 300 card. So some things about Max. His strengths are he knows how to grapple well. I think he's got good takedown defense, great footwork, likes to stay off the fence, which is really good, so he doesn't, get cornered or stuck along the fence where he has nowhere to go. Claims to be the best boxer in the UFC. I don't doubt it. I don't know who's a better boxer. I feel like this fight is going to be the fight for who is the best boxer in the UFC. Ilya's boxing is insane. His combinations are crazy. But Max Holloway's high output is just insane. The amount of strikes that Max Holloway imposes on his opponents, man, it's undeniable for sure. I know Max Holloway has used that word in the past, that you just need to be undeniable, and he's definitely the fighter that can show his grit, his undeniability. So you pair that with his great cardio, and you have a 5-round machine here. He's still in his prime. He's only maybe 2 years older than Ilya. He's 32, and he almost choked out Gaethje, so he's full of surprises as well. Under here, I have not many weaknesses for him. I just wrote down Volkanovski. I think that's the only weakness that he has. He has 3 losses against Volk. I think he lost against Dustin as well, and early on against McGregor. But Volkanovski, as of recently, while Max has been in his prime this whole entire time, has been his kryptonite. And Ilya actually knocked out Volkanovski, which I know MMA math does not math, and so that doesn't mean Ilya automatically beats Max Holloway. Volkanovski was coming off a tough loss, and I think he came way too soon into a championship fight. Volkanovski should have waited a little bit longer. He got knocked out by Islam head kick, and then this happens not that long after. So Volkanovski, can't count him out, still has got it. I'm sure he'll want to get that strap back, but I cannot be mad at Max Holloway getting gold finally back around his waist and holding 2 belts, the BMF and the featherweight belt. So let's talk about Ilya a little bit. He is a black belt in BJJ. His base is in Greco-Roman wrestling. He's an explosive striker with nice combinations. He's probably the hardest puncher in the division. The way this guy punches is insane. He loves to attack the body, and then he goes to the top for an overhook and has knocked people out with that so many times. That body punch is just ridiculous. It hurts me watching, honestly. You could say he's durable. He did take a nasty head kick from Jay Herbert and survived that, ended up winning that fight. He's a good grappler as well, so he's a very well-balanced fighter. Not only is he a striker, but like I said earlier, his base is Greco-Roman wrestling, so he can utilize grappling, and he's done it in the past, and his boxing, his stand-up is just as good, so very well-balanced. He's got a big frame for the weight class. He utilizes low kicks well. Now, he did look a little gassed out against some of his fights in the past. So I think that could be the only questionable thing is Does this fight go the distance? Does Max Holloway win on output at the end of the fight? Because Ilya gasses out, can't generate that much power anymore, and we see the true colors of Ilya in this fight. It just needs to go to the distance. I don't think Max Holloway knocks out Ilya. I think it's more likely maybe Ilya knocks out Max, even though Max has never been knocked out. I think this goes to distance. I think this is going to be a striking volume type of fight. Who's the most accurate? Who does the most damage? I think for me, that I take Max Holloway, even though everybody on the internet has got Ilya Topuria. Well, with what I've seen, a lot of people are really putting their money on Ilya, and I see why. I see why. This guy tells himself, or not tells himself, but tells the media that he is the new generation type of fighter, and he's the future. So, you know, he is 7-0 in the UFC. He's 27 years old, very young. He's gonna want to put the pressure on Max, try to get those reads, bounce in and out, and utilize the grappling if he wants to get the win and retain his belt. Or not retain, sorry, defend his belt. But going on a bias win or bias pick here, gotta go Max Holloway. You can never count out the Blessed Express. I think he's gonna get this belt just by sheer will, toughness, and I think the fans at the end of the day are gonna win here. I think this says potential fight of the year. Maybe we do get a knockout, but I would not miss this fight. The fights are early this weekend. I think they start at 1 o'clock Central Time. So you do not want to miss this one. If any of the fights, gotta watch this main event fight, and I'm excited to watch it and to talk about it next time around. So my pick, Max Holloway in the decision. And that's it, guys. That's it. That's all I got for y'all. Those are all the fights in the main card. I have some family over. We'll all be watching the fights here in the house, so I'm super excited about it. And I know I keep saying that, but super excited for doing this podcast again. I know we slacked last time around, didn't film the podcast, but you know, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going, pretend that didn't happen. The next UFC is UFC 309, which is John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. We cannot miss that one. We'll definitely be back breaking that down. We'll be breaking down UFC 308, kind of talk about what happened, who ended up winning in the next podcast as well. So y'all stay tuned. I appreciate you guys, as always, listening to the pod. Again, this was the No Coaster Podcast. Everybody, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. See you guys.